Welcome back, Cryptonauts, to another session with Brett and Grant, where we represent ourselves in Cryptoverse.academy, the place where we speak crypto and DeFi in a language everybody can understand. Today, Brett, we've got to follow up on NFTs. Our last video, we had quite a few people that responded, asked further questions. So first, let's clarify a few things with NFTs. And then second, let's give maybe an ultimate guide to the NFT space. There's more to it than what we covered. And let's just deep dive into a few things. But first, questions from NFT. Some of these, this can, to some of you, it might seem a little bit odd, but this gives you the range of understanding that can occur in the universe of crypto. Some really, that might seem really basic questions to some, and then others extremely expert. And we are just here to help understand and guide everybody through the process. So Brett, tell me, we had a couple questions.
Yeah, so one of the questions we had, I actually responded to on the comment was, if you bid on something, do you lose your money? No, you don't. So it works very similar to how like eBay would work. So if you're familiar with eBay and their process, right, you have options to like buy now, or you can bid on something. If you bid on something, you're not actually going to pay for it unless you actually, like, your offer is accepted. And so that's ultimately what it kind of comes down to in that situation. If you're bidding on something, you're saying, hey, I'm willing to offer this amount for it, and then you can accept it or leave it. So that's a bid, or that's an offer, sorry. So if I offer on something, I can say, hey, take it or leave it. On the bid side, where the two differentiate a little bit is how the seller actually set it up. So the seller could actually say, hey, I want to set it up as a bid process that's, like I said, similar to eBay, where they'll start it at, let's say, I don't know, $5, and then you can bid on it from there, and they might have a reserve price or whatever before they'll let it go. That's a bid, which you're not going to place offers on that one because you're going through the bidding process, and whoever has the highest bid will end up winning. Offering is if I list something for sale, like my planet that we talked about last time, I've listed it for sale. I've actually gotten a handful of offers on it that frankly are not even remotely interesting to me. But those are offers.
Stop bragging. Stop bragging.
On my amount. Well, I mean, it's still almost double what I paid for it, but it's just not interesting to me. I like my planet more than,
I'm telling you,
what it's worth.
Pause. Everybody just take note. He's a bragger. He loves his world. He loves it. He wants, if he's going to sell it, it's going to buy him multiple Lamborghinis. That's his like threshold.
That's the goal. I mean, 5 ETH won't get me multiple Lamborghinis, but that would be great. So along with that, I also wanted to highlight a couple other things. Last time we talked a little bit about listing on OpenC if you wanted to try and sell something. I actually got through the process, and I did not have to pay the $300 that, as we were going through it, that was the amount that it was showing. So it is listed now officially. I've listed it for 5 ETH right now. Yes, it's way above the floor price on these, based on what I've seen on a few different sites, is 0.6 ETH. Obviously 5 ETH is way above that, but I don't necessarily want to sell this. It's just more of a, hey, if I sell it for 5 ETH, I'll be happy with that. So during the process of actually listing on OpenC, the first thing you're going to have to do is basically, like, the way I saw it was almost like set up your account with OpenC. And so that first, like, initially when it showed, it was like $200 to $300. That's just to set up the OpenC account. I waited until there weren't as many transactions on the Ethereum network, and I got it down to, it was just over $100 to set that up. That's a
so the fee is not dependent on your list price, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It is not dependent on the list price. It is really dependent on what the network's volume is at the time that you're trying to list it.
Yeah, it's basically setting up your account. Think about it as like setting up an account, and you have to pay to set up the account initially. From what I can tell, it should only be a one-time fee, because after that I paid to actually list the NFT, and that only cost me, I think it was like $6 or something like that to list. So from what I can tell, that $100 is a one-time fee basically to set up the OpenC. And then after that, you're going to pay to actually list your NFT on OpenC. And that one is, like I said, $5 or $6, which is a lot more doable and understandable. It's just that initial gut wrenching $100 that you have to pay to set up OpenC.
We're talking gut wrenching and, you know, a world that's
For
worth
me.
multiple ETHs all at the same time. Let's just make sure we're clear. Okay, so that brings up a point, because we've talked about OpenC before. It's a marketplace where you can search NFTs. There are other marketplaces, and we were talking about one that is a little bit different than OpenC. I'd be curious to know your comments on the difference between like an OpenC NFT platform or marketplace versus something like Superrare.
Yeah, so this is Superrare. So OpenC is like the open platform. It'll have a bunch of NFTs on it that you can go and buy. Superrare is a little bit more like art blocks. And we've talked a little bit about art blocks in the past. That's actually where I bought my planet from, or I minted my planet, was on art blocks. Superrare, I would say, is more in line with art blocks. What Superrare does is they will go and find artists. So basically, to be an artist on Superrare, you have to submit a portfolio, and then they will go evaluate your portfolio and determine if they want to actually have you on Superrare to list your artwork and whatnot and create NFTs for it. So you have people like in this situation, this is XCoffee. XCoffee is one that I've been hearing a lot about lately. In fact, he has some pretty high selling pieces of art. This is not generative art. This is what's called glitch art. So it would be more of like a traditional, hey, he created a GIF and then he listed the GIF on here. And now I can go buy that GIF or that artwork to then use wherever I want or however I want. That's more what Superrare is for. Whereas like art blocks is more of that generative art. So someone went and actually coded stuff, and then based on the code and certain parameters that they feed in, it will go and randomly generate different pieces of artwork and whatnot. So that what I would say is the biggest difference between the two. Art blocks is more focused on generative art. Superrare is more focused, I would say, on artists and certain artists that they deem worthy to put on there.
So take me through a little bit of the process. If you were an artist and you wanted to create an NFT, which you're not, and we've talked about this, we don't really have any interest, and maybe it's because we're just non-artists, but we don't have real interest in creating art to create an NFT from. But if there was somebody that wanted to create art, what does that process look like in order to get onto OpenC or onto Superrare? What is the process to get to that? Do you know high level what that looks like?
So from my understanding, each of them are going to be different. So each application or site, whatever you want to call it, is going to be different. And they're going to have different criteria for allowing different artists in. So like art blocks is more on the generative side. So you'd have to be a generative artist, and then you would have to submit a portfolio, and then they go and evaluate it and determine if they want to have you on their platform or not. Superrare is very similar, but it's not generative art. It's like for XCoffee, the XCoffee situation, it's called glitch art. So he does glitch art, but they don't just do glitch art. They do have other types of art on there. You have to submit your portfolio, and then they'll go and look at it and determine whether or not they think it's like if they want you on as an artist.
And so we don't know what their approval criteria even looks like, right?
I don't know what it looks like, and I've only heard like the CEO of a Superrare talk about high level some of the stuff that they do and the requirements and whatnot, like submitting your portfolio, and then they'll go and hand evaluate all of them and whatnot. Similar on the art block side, I listened to one of their founders, and he kind of explained some of the high level criteria to get in. So each one is going to be slightly different. So basically, you just need to go find the platform that allows you to get on. Obviously, you get on with like a Superrare and art blocks, you're going to have a lot more clout initially, because a lot of people will already trust art blocks and Superrare because they've already established a name for themselves. So if you can get on with one of those, awesome. If not, then you'd have to find another platform that would allow you to generate NFTs and whatnot and put it on the platform.
Cool. So that really cool overview. And like I said, I guess here's the question, just for the layman in me. Okay. The layman, if I wasn't a coder, but I wanted to create, let's say a photographer even, right? Somebody that in our world of that we currently have photographers that sell their art and license their art all the time. Is it possible for just a photographer to upload photos that they have captured and create an NFT with that photo being the NFT? Is that possible in your mind?
Yes, that would be possible. You would just have to figure out what platform will allow you to go and list your JPEGs in that situation. More than likely, you're going to be converting them to JPEG. You're probably not going to list them as a RAW. And so you would convert them to a JPEG and then list that JPEG on, and then you could sell the JPEG.
It is an interesting, I mean, I think, let's say it sounds like it's possible, and I don't have the answer here, but let's just keep going down this road. If we use this use case, I'm a photographer, I've got an image that I've already sold to a customer over here, gave at least licensing rights or usable rights or whatever here. Do you think that it violates any of those agreements to take that same image and upload it and create an NFT? Or is there such a big difference between the two? And this is not legal advice. Like everybody, this is not legal advice. This is just theoretical exploration down a small rabbit hole, because if artwork can exist in one place, but it doesn't exist in the crypto world, can you do it in a crypto world? Have you heard anything about that? Whether that's violating any agreements?
So from what I've seen, all of the legal ramifications would be the same. So if someone has already purchased the rights to that photo, you couldn't go and duplicate it and sell it as an NFT because you've technically already sold those rights. The NFT, it just makes it easier to sell rights and to also control who has the ownership and whatnot to photos, versus the more traditional model that we're used to right now. So that's really, I would say, NFTs are more of it's an easier way to actually allow artists to sell their art and actually control who has access to it and whatnot, because you can always say, no, this person is the person that owns it, and this person is using that photo or whatever outside of permission, because I know exactly who owns it. And so it just adds an extra layer of security.
I get you, but let's just, let's truth serum this for a minute. If that was a scenario that we just did, where I've already sold, I created an original piece of artwork, I uploaded it on as an NFT. We're not dealing with, I've got multiple licenses, but I created original work, I uploaded it, and I can now confirm that this one person who has this token ID, that's their artwork, right? They own it.
Yes.
But the nature of crypto would mean that if anybody else was using it, how do you actually stop somebody else from using it? Because isn't crypto by nature like this, a little bit of that mystery of you can't track, you can track everything, but at the same time, you can't identify anybody.
Yes.
Tell me the paradox, Brett. Like solve the paradox for me. You can track everything, but you can't identify anybody.
So yes and no. There's some level where you might not know. It's like XCoffee, right? We showed that. I don't know how many people actually know that his actual name. And yes, I do know it is a he, because I know people have gone out to lunch with him and whatnot. But that's confirmed on a few podcasts that I've listened to. It is a he. He could still go and people would notice that it's his artwork, and they could even go back and say like, hey, your artwork is being used, and like outside of this situation, or someone copied it and resold it. And so there's still that level of people have to know, like they've got to be watching, right? Because you could still technically take that artwork, recreate it, and say, oh yeah, this is my own artwork, but in reality it's XCoffee's artwork.
Yeah.
That still does happen, and crypto doesn't solve that aspect of it either.
And is there any way to, like, from an enforcement capability, right? How do you tell somebody to take it down or to stop use or whatever. What is that? And for different conversation, but those are kind of where my mind goes into that world a little bit, because I believe in the crypto space. I think there's a lot of opportunity in it, but it's going back to why we initially created the Cryptoverse.academy. It's like this massive universe that there's still a lot of things to be developed in it to give it some boundaries and some legal clout, right? Some teeth with good intentions, if you will. And so there's some mystery there. Maybe we explore that on a different video.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on NFTs that we're missing?
So one other thing that we wanted to talk about really quick, I'll share my screen again, is minting and the act of going through and minting.
Yes.
So we'll just start here. On Superrare, you'll notice that there are like offers. So it looks very similar to like OpenC, where it's like, okay, this is the last sell price was 40 ETH. And so you could go and make offers or whatever on that artwork, or people will list it for sale and you could go buy it. Feels very similar to OpenC, outside of those differences that we talked about. Now with art blocks, you can actually mint the NFT. So basically what minting is it's going and creating that NFT real time. So if I went here and I clicked purchase, I'm not going to purchase this one because I'm not particularly drawn to this particular piece of art.
So picky. So
picky. It's not my planet. So all I need to do is click purchase, and then you can see here that the cost is 0.25 ETH to mint it. So it'll cost me 0.25 ETH. I have no idea what's actually going to come out of the other end on the, like, once I purchase it and it generates the art. I don't know what it's actually going to look like. And so it's kind of like, think about it like opening a pack of cards, right? For those of us in my generation that were into Pokemon, if you open a pack of Pokemon cards, you have no idea, or baseball cards or whatever was your generation that you were into. You know, you've got a pack of cards, you open it, you have no idea if you're going to get the next Ken Griffey Jr. or Sammy Sosa or Charizard or whatever it might be. You're just hoping that when you spend that money that you're going to get something good.
VP's so bringing down the examples, but hold that thought though, because are you saying, let's use that analogy for a second. A card, you get a Pokemon card or baseball card, you know you're going to get a card. You just don't know who you're going to get.
Or in this situation, what it's going to look like.
Okay, but with this is a 2D. It's kind of this orange red looking thing with some movement to it, right? It's a GIF.
Yep.
Will you get a GIF? Do you know that you'll get a GIF, or could it be a static image? Like, how much do you not know, I guess is my question. Like, is it like opening up a baseball card or a Pokemon and then you're getting a yo-yo? Like, is it that, how far do you stretch?
No. So you can read right here what it's generally going to end up looking like. So if I look here, I can see that the algorithm is a grid of rounded squares continuously spinning. So I know that no matter what, I'm going to get something that's rounded squares continuously spinning. And I don't know how many of these blocks are going to be in here. So a multitude of color palettes, grid sizes. So those would be your grid sizes. Yeah. Blend modes, border styles, and shadows are what you're going to end up getting out. So basically in this situation, you know that when you buy it, you're going to get a random color palette, grid size, blend mode, border style, and shadow. And so you have no idea what it's going to be.
It will be two-dimensional though, as it looks on the screen. It's not like your three-dimensional world. It will be
correct.
It'll a variation of what you see. Okay.
It will be a 2D. So here's an example of a few others that have been minted in this situation. So we can go and actually look through here for some examples of what I could potentially get. And by the looks of these, none of these are going to be the same. Now, rarity would be based on colors or based on grids or whatever those might be. And that honestly, you have no idea what's going to be rare until they're all minted. Yeah. Because you could end up getting something and you're like, oh, that's not rare. But then as it progresses through, you're like, actually, that's pretty dang rare. And so you have no idea at this point what's going to be rare and what's not going to be rare.
Like your world. Your world was like a purple color that you were saying that ended up being pretty rare in
yes.
from your mint?
Yes. Yeah, from the color perspective, that purple is actually pretty rare.
Did you purchase yours? You minted yours on Art Block.
I minted mine on Art Blocks.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so I got lucky opening the pack. I got pretty lucky with the one that I ended up with.
Keep rubbing it in. Keep rubbing that in.
So you have no idea what you're actually going to get. You're just going to pay 0.25 ETH. You could get something great and it could be worth a lot more. There's also the side of it is how many people are going to actually be interested in buying this on the secondary market or not, and you have no idea. So you've got to do your research, find the community that you like, find the artwork that you're interested in, and then just know that if you spend the money on the artwork, hopefully you like the artwork enough that you would keep it even if it goes to zero, and you would actually be happy to show it, and maybe even show it in your home.
Yeah.
Because they could go to zero.
Awesome. Good stuff, dude. How would you show it in your home?
My Galaxy, I probably wouldn't show, because what makes the Galaxy cool is the 3D effect of it and the plane flying around it and the whole thing, which makes it hard, which basically you'd have to have a TV or something to do it. In fact, my wife and I have actually talked about doing that. There's another artwork that I'm not going to mention yet because I don't want anything to happen. But there's another one that I'm actually looking at buying a couple because I think it looks really cool. It's from Art Blocks as well, but they're all minted. I'm probably going to go buy a couple of those on OpenC because I think they look really cool, and then print them out and put them somewhere in my house.
See, but that's a good option. So because it is a file, I mean, you can download the file and print it. You have ownership rights to do that. But the 3D one could be a little bit tricky unless you like invent this crazy cool way to like take your 3D from the digital world and make it 3D in our world with your Mount Everest.
When they come out with holograms, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. Well, by then it'll be worth maybe, just a little
$2.
Yeah. Okay. All right, dude. Well, this is good. This is good stuff. I think answered some questions on NFTs. As always, if you have questions, please comment, post, let us know. It is helpful for us to hear what you're investigating, because again, we're living in a universe that is uncharted and we just need to make it make as much sense as possible. So thank you, Cryptonauts, for joining us, and until next time.
See ya.